Good night, it's the RawSoul podcast. We're back again with Beer Cats. Tonight we have a great lineup for you. We'll be featuring segments such as the message behind the music with some local artists. We'll be having a number of other local podcasts on board. I've been thinking about it podcast by Christian Yearwood meets How We Get Here with Sab and Tams, and you'll be hearing a lot more. Straight into it, we have Christian Yearwood with the I've Been Thinking About It podcast. Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself, your podcast, and how you got here.
Hi, good night. My name is Christian Yearwood, of course, and I'm a Bayesian. I'm 22 years old, and I'm a political science major at York University currently. But I got into podcasting basically because, I really love the idea that, anyone could sit and record their thoughts about sports or video games or politics, just anything you could think of. And I really love the idea of that. So it really was kind of like a form of creative expression for me. And also because I found that there was a lot of social issues and kind of politics. Basically, as a political science student, those are my interests. So that was a way for me to kind of like channel my work into the media space where people who might not necessarily be familiar with the information, whether they can inform themselves and, kind of get understanding of that side of things. So that's really what it was for me.
Yeah, what I really liked about yourself is that I thought you kind of tackled it on your own, which is pretty unique for a podcast, for someone to just start their own series. And it was pretty nicely formatted. You had like topics on conspiracies, elections, Mamba mentality. I think was your first one. What would you say is your most interesting, or what would you recommend people check out first from your podcast series?
That's a good question. Honestly, my favorite episode is the Julian Assange episode. It's titled Julian Assange and the Illegal War on Journalism. It's very important for me to get that message across because I felt like that was really an assault on the human population as a whole, right? When you arrest a journalist for exposing the truth and the war crimes that various governments commit, right? This is stuff that should be public knowledge. So for you to imprison him and basically torture him in a prison, for me, that was absolutely disgusting. So I felt like I had to speak out against that.
The overall tone of your stuff has been pretty serious so far. And on the RawSoul podcast, we get a little bit more open and more expressive, so it's a place to speak freely. What's not? Are you trying to get your message across to a specific audience? Is someone you're trying to reach, or is this like a broad message to the world?
Definitely a broad message because, honestly, I believe that some of the issues that we're facing, the only solution to them is for us to go at it like collectively. So yeah, my podcast definitely is for everyone, and generally speaking, I felt like the feedback that I've gotten from it so far is kind of showing in that because it's people from different walks of life and they're telling me that, they're actually, enjoying it. So that's all I really wanted to do, speak to a broad group of people, not sort of like marginalize a certain group of people.
Yeah, understood. How frequently would you say you release episodes?
Just about a week and a half or so. Currently my format is written, so it takes me a while to research and stuff, but I try to get them out as quickly as possible. So yeah.
Very impressive. I feel like it's inspirational to a lot of people that are looking to start their own podcasts. And I feel like as we would have discussed privately, we're trying to encourage everyone to start a podcast because it's a really good way to start any kind of project, anything you're working on or feeling or expressing, especially now that the media is very one-sided at times. Great number of sources.
Yeah, most definitely.
On that note, we're still following through on encouraging podcasts and what's not. I wanted to introduce an additional podcast. It's a new series. I think I would have mentioned it to you as well, Chris. It's called the How We Get Here podcast, and it was conceptualized by two local, I think they like to call themselves Bajans, but they're both foreigners, importees. And
importees.
Correct. See that instantly on the surface. and they conceptualize this on podcast, How We Get Here, Sabeeha and Tameika. And I wanted to let them tell us themselves about their podcast and what they have planned for it.
That's cool.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
But before we start, I have to correct him. There's only one in Porty.
Who's this?
Okay? Me?
Oh, I was like, wait,
You're
what?
Bajan.
Fellas admit that I am not a Bajan. I want you to know that.
She's very Bajan.
Does anyone out here believe from hearing her speak so far that she's a Bajan?
Let me hear the voice again.
She going real quiet.
Until I hear the words wanna, I don't believe
Bajan's
it.
load. Bajan's load.
Correct. You can always hear a Bajan. Anyway.
Like, all Bajans are loud, but whatever.
All right. The whatever might have gone us a little bit. That was like 10, 20 points. But trust me, fellas. This one here, so she ain't a real Bajan. She is imported.
I can make bakes. I feel like I am Bajan.
You said bakes. No, she's trying to really talk about bakes. But any Bajan can make bakes. Bakes is the easiest thing in the world to make.
Right? That's what you say, bakes, then. You say any Bajan.
Correct. Oh, okay. Good point. Hello. We would like to hear about the How We Get Here podcast.
Tab, do you want me to start?
Go ahead.
Okay, so our podcast, which we are now working on, we don't have a release date yet, but that's going to be soon. It's basically about our lives and our journey so far. We are both females, Bajan and slightly Bajan, and we have just been looking back at where we are now. We are almost 30, both of us, and we just feel like, what are we doing? Is this what it's supposed to be? Is this where we're supposed to be? Is this how we're supposed to feel? So we just kind of look back at that stuff, because I'm thinking that a lot of females, our age group, we are taught that by 30, you should have certain things in place, career-wise, family-wise, and so forth. And
are we in the way off?
Yeah, no, we so long. So far. A lot of times we have these conversations among ourselves, just the two of us, in our bedrooms, sometimes crying, sometimes laughing, mostly drunk. And we're like,
Word to that.
do other people feel this way? Should this be something that we should be talking about more? And so that's how we got to this over the COVID break. I mean, the time that we had to think. Yeah, sadly.
Yeah, that's basically it. That's what we are. We're lost. We're trying to figure it out. No Prince Charming.
Bro.
You know, well, Bajan men are the most wholesome in the Caribbean, so if you can't find it,
then something is definitely wrong with us. I agree.
Right.
It has
So
to be.
We're broken?
Something.
Oh,
right?
God.
You know, no one said broken. You know, sometimes you just need some like factory updates. True. Like Bajan men have updated. You know, we've adjusted to women's needs. We always are the most.
Which Bajan men have been updated? Where? Where are they? I can tell you where they are not.
It's mandatory shots that the men be taking for y'all. You know, we go the
So I feel like some have updated and some have done like what Apple does and get slower when the new updates come out. Right? So you got the ones that are like the X's, and you got your iPhone 6s, and then you got your iPhone 4s.
I was going to say
some
that.
of y'all
but it meant that I got a clearly Androids, because them and...
I was going to say that y'all are dealing with great Androids. Nobody didn't tell y'all to get the Androids. Anyway, as I was trying to say, Bajan men wholesome and the greatest gift that God ever gave to women. And I hope that you'll appreciate us more, and that this podcast reflects on that point and doesn't, you know.
We won't be ragging on the men, you know.
Okay, King.
We'll give our opinions of the men. Might be bad, might be good. Who knows?
But they'll
Mostly
be fair.
bad. Let's be real. No, they won't be fair.
They will be fair. That's all I ask for, fairness.
No, that's not going to happen. But I mean, we do plan on having male guests, and y'all can defend yourselves if you can.
When can I look forward to your first episode?
Fast.
Like June? Sorry, July? Sorry.
Yeah, because
Sam
is in school and she has exams right now, so we have to work with her schedule.
But we know that's the main thing. You know that the population needs your content. There are women at home right now sitting out saying that what you talking about exams, you can let that get between you and your fans. Sickening.
Yes, because after the podcast, she wants to paycheck.
Okay. I understand. Your priorities aren't with your heart; they're with your pocket, and that's like all other red women, and that's why I wanted everyone to stop.
Oh God!
I apologize.
So cool,
Stop that. I realize I'm being a little biased here. I sound a little hurt. Terrible.
Projecting as they say.
But that's growth there. That's growth right there, Phil. Don't worry about it, man.
Phil, a red woman hurt you or what?
Well, as Pop can advise, I don't carry my feelings. I carry my gun. You know.
So yeah. Are we getting in Phil's business today? I would love to know.
That would never happen. I wouldn't bring that in here. Shoots. Anyway, progressing forward, back to the ladies at hand. What would you think?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I continue.
Yeah, I was gonna just say to them, I completely relate to how you guys feel, even though I'm younger. And I think that's actually a very good concept and a good idea. Because I know that a lot of people can relate of feeling lost and stranded and stuff like that. And the way that we would get through it is conversations like that and podcasts like that. So I'm all for that. I'm gonna be a fan.
To actually add to what Christian just said, I am 25 and I have a job and everything, and I still feel so lost. So I completely agree. Like, I think that's a brilliant idea. Like, I have a job and everything, but I'm still like, is this what I want to do? Is this where I want to be? You know, like 5 years from now, where do I think? I mean, I don't know. Like, even though I have a job, I'm still like, is this where I want to be? Is this what I want to do? And it's just like, no matter how old you are, you always have those questions about yourself. So I think that's a very good thing to bring up to the table and bring out to the open and just openly talk about it.
Yeah. Thank you guys. But and here's the thing, Sab's had her career started and her degree and stuff, and in the middle of all that, she decided, well, that's not what I want to do. And if there was a debate, should I go back to school? Is it going to be setting me back from my goals and so forth? She made the decision, and I think it was like one of the best choices she ever made in her life, right, Sab?
We're still deciding if that one of the best decisions we ever made. I relate to the same thing for sure.
I mean, it's never too late as well. I think that's what we all need to think. Like, you know, you got people talking like Gary Vee, like these motivational speakers. And I know him in particular, he always emphasizes the fact that like it's never too late to start, you know, no matter what age you are, whether you're 18 or 80, like if you want to do something, then what on earth is stopping you, right? It's just this strange social construct that we have on ourselves, which is like, you need to be, you know what I mean? Like if you're in entertainment, like you need to be popping and a millionaire by the time you're 22. And if you're in law, you need to be popping and a millionaire by the time you're 27, or like, you know what I mean? Like we all have our own path and our own story, and like that's an interesting thing. So that's what I'm interested to see about yours podcast for sure. Like where you go, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like quarantine was a great time for introspection as well. Like I really recognize things that I value more, like bananas. Bananas are God's gift, man. So they make bread.
So good.
I agree with you though.
Sweet potatoes are the best vegetable in the world. Haleek, you know what I'm talking about, Haleek?
Yeah. Them two things that you know call as power.
Sweet potato and bananas be like, those are two like, I can't imagine life without them right now after a few months. Like I eat a lot of flying fish too. Like I really have like a course stuff now in life that I value, and like you have a lot of fluff. Like tenders are trash. Why did I believe that? So good. You know, I used to buy tenders as if they tasted good, and I would know they taste
One thing I can't look at the same as KFC.
Correct.
Same way. And like as things started opening back up, there was 2 occasions where I tried to call them and like order something, and they just had me on the phone for so long, and then they had someone else that called me on the phone for so long. And I was like, you know what? This is just God saying, be done with KFC apparently. So, all right.
The vegans having the last laugh, huh?
True.
Vegan.
No, I'm
I've
not
tried
vegan.
veganism, but like I that's the thing. I feel like if you're gonna do veganism, you got to be really careful because you'll just get sick. Like if you're not eating properly, you'll just get sick.
Mm-hmm.
And not a lot of people actually talk about that fact, but it's very true.
Yeah.
I like me some flying fish, as Phil said.
That's true. Yo, I know advice that Zoom is usually a good mind friend that like extends their meeting permanently with their free premium, but I don't know if they're gonna do that today, so I might go tell them about their mothers. But I will just keep talking until, but if anything, we'll be back after a brief intermission. As you know, that's all scheduled according to plan. I planned that. I wanted that to happen if it does happen. Okay. So let me just ease towards start of our next topic, and then that's where we're gonna introduce my boy Sachin Amin. As you learned so much about him so far, graduate, hardworking man of the people, and he came to me with a new segment, the message behind the music, especially now in these times when there's so much violence and conflict going on in the world. It really makes you look back at the past when you try to express these emotions in music and what's not. And Sachin is tell us more.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much put it well. I graduated with business and Spanish, whatever. Ancestrally speaking, my grandparents are Indian. Both my parents were born and grew up in Africa. I was born in England. I grew up in the Caribbean. You could call me a half importee as well, if you will. I'm not fully Bajan, to be completely honest with you, but I mean, I consider myself a Bajan.
Assembled, imported parts.
Yeah, exactly. The imported parts of my life come from Barbados. But I mean, I just came to you with the idea of showing a few songs and a couple of their lyrics, and they're all from different periods of time. So some of them are from the 90s, some are from the 80s, and then some are from 8 years ago and things like that. And they all pretty much have the same message. So I was just thinking that I would share just a few of the lyrics and just say, hey, this is what's going on, this is what's happening, and this was at this time of the year, and just kind of going on. So I mean, if you're willing, I could get right into it.
Yes, please hit the man.
Sounds cool.
So the number one song, well, actually, I would say the number one song for last, if you will. So the number two song would be Changes by Tupac Shakur. That was released in 1998. So that's 22 years ago, right? And from that song, I just picked like one little set of lyrics. And one of them was, is life worth living? Should I blast myself? I'm tired of being poor, and even worse, I'm black. My stomach hurts, so I'm looking for a purse to snatch. Cops give a damn about a Negro. Pull a trigger, kill a nigga, he's a hero. I mean, there's multiple things in there that just like are so loud. Number one, is life worth living? Should I blast myself? I mean, suicide rates among Black people in the ghettos and everything is incredibly high. And even Kendrick Lamar touched on it with his song I, which was trying to empower Black people and say, listen, don't kill yourself. There's so much more to live for and everything like that. And it's true, right? But I mean, you go a little further into the song and it's like, I'm tired of being poor, and even worse, I'm black. Stomach hurts. I'm looking for a purse to snatch. And that lyric alone brings in so many different things. Not only, okay, you're a poor Black person who's hungry. Sure, that's one thing, right? But I mean, even worse, I'm looking for a purse to snatch and everything. Like, just because of everything that's going on, like they're forced into what other options you have? Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, and this is from 98 as well, right? This is 22 years ago, right? And he's singing about this and everything. And we all know that this has been going on pretty much since European settlers laid eyes on Black people. This has been going on, however, 400, 500 years ago, whatever it was, right? So, I mean, there's so much more to the song that I could go on about, but that was the main section that I really wanted to put. And then I guess the last lyric as well, which is pull a trigger, kill a nigga, he's a hero, right? And for so long, we never heard anything about any of the issues that, with white cops killing Black people and everything. It was never a big problem. And it was never like wow, look at this is going on, even though it's been going on for so long. And like, it was never truly brought to anyone's attention or anything like that.
Yeah, it's true.
It's been going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
like global outrage. That is what it is now.
Exactly.
Just to see all the protests happening in like Holland and London and Paris. But the reason why is because everyone is realizing, like, in those days and before that, like, you feel a lot more isolated, especially because we didn't have social media like that. Like, this has been happening globally, but if you're in your one little town, you know what I mean, or your one city, and you're like, well, this is just what happens here because they told us that we're like this. So ultimately, like, you're starting to be conditioned to think that that's what you and your community kind of deserve, so you don't have a right or a voice to stand up for yourself. But once everyone gets connected and you see that it's happening all over the place to everybody the same way, and no one's getting in trouble the same way, of course you're going to be angry. Of course you're going to be as angry as you should have been the very first time that it happened, or the very first, you know, instance that someone said some whack shit to you. Like, it's a lot. And to go back to your lyric about the suicide, I actually saw a Babalawo, which is a priest of, well, West African priest. So that's of Lukumi or Ifa tradition. And they said something to me that I have known to myself for a very long time, which is that suicide is rooted in cowardice. And it sounds like a very cruel statement, right? Because it's like, if someone is in that position of hopelessness, like, you know what I mean, they don't feel like they have another option. But it's the idea that persevering through even that is what makes you brave, and is where you'll find solace and where you'll find that respect for yourself when you can move past that. Because to take your own life, like, it's not inherently our right to do that. Like, we're not really meant to choose when we go, even though I personally believe, like, if you choose, you choose. But a lot of religions obviously say that's one of the biggest sins. I'm not big on making someone feel bad, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to tell someone who's in that position, like, look, I know you feel that way, but you're actually doing the biggest sin. Like, but I think when it's reframed in the idea that, like, no, I'm not making the bravest decision, you know what I mean? Like, that's a start to go back.
It's actually on that note, a lot of people who have tried to kill themselves and failed, most of the people who were like then spoke out about it, they openly said, one of my biggest regrets is that I actually tried to do it, and I'm so happy that I failed and that I'm actually still here. And that, like, that alone is just, you know, that's also very empowering as well, because that just speaks, right, where it's like, you know, you think, okay, there's nothing going for me, I have no friends, I have none of this, none of that. But then when you try it and you fail, you're like, you look at life in a different perspective. You're like, holy shit, like, I could not be here right now, but all of a sudden here I am. I'm still here. You know what? I'm still standing. Let's do this. Let's go forward.
And that's something that a lot of these people who are racist against Black people and don't like Black people and people of color, that's the one thing that they can't stand. How dare we? How dare we have that resilience, right? How dare we have not killed ourselves?
How dare you have the nerve to live and become powerful and become great and do these great things.
And love yourself. And love yourself, essentially. How dare us? And I'm keep being daring. Don't mind me. But that's definitely a root of it, in my opinion.
Well, I definitely share a bunch of those opinions. I also, specifically from the list that Sachin sent, the song that resonated with me the most would be NWA's "Fuck the Police." I feel that everyone's very familiar with this song, especially since it was glamorized in the movie Straight Outta Compton. It came out, I think, 2015.
And Get Out.
And
that seems class.
Correct. So, you know, the outright message, you know, retaliation to authority. I feel it was an adequate response at the time to the level of racism. Because in my eyes, slavery never ended. It has changed to a different form. They abolished direct slavery on plantations, and they changed it to paying people cents inside of prisons, and then filling those prisons with majority Black people. So, it's rebranding. It's a nice Apple version of the product in a one-side case. So, fuck the police.
You could even consider, like, even in our creative industries, right? And you see many of these people speak out about getting paid less or get made to work for free, where their white counterparts don't have to work for free. Like, you know what I mean? It sounds extreme to be like, oh yes, that's slavery, but the root of it, I mean, you correct me. I've never been in an elevator with it.
It's like a bunch of men like beating on the sides of elevators, like hammer and saying, I read it.
That's the most random Google ever.
Anyway, I feel in it. We're back on the RawSoul podcast. Low intermission there, so actually I had to go piss. Now we're back to talking. We were talking, and as I was saying, I kind of felt like the fact the police resonates with me because the slavery, although it was abolished, in my opinion, it was never ended. It was just reformed into what we call prison now, where we have people working for 6 to 12 cents an hour or for nothing for the same
colonialism.
Correct. And like, well, that's when someone asked me if I support, if I feel bad about Adidas or whatever getting raided, I think to myself, these people, like, even if they come out and say they stand with us in solidarity now, they've been hiring people in sweatshops overseas or in these same prison systems and benefiting from this underpaid labor, which is slavery in my opinion in the modern day.
Very true.
So it's a hypocrite. So I agree with the police, but I don't really agree with defund the police, because then we're just gonna have some other evil force, like some other rich person who's gonna come in and take over.
Neighborhood watch.
Correct. Autonomous zone.
Actually, Phil, on that note, I actually read a book a few years ago, and it was just called Slave. And it was about a woman whose name was Menda Nazir. And this was back in 1993. And it was literally just about how, yes, at this time, slavery had been abolished, but somehow she managed to find herself working with a wealthy Arab family. And she was literally just a modern day slave for them. I mean, they didn't let her. So she started working with them when she was 12 years old. And she was, I guess there's no better way to put it, but she was basically kidnapped. And then she started working with them when she was 12. And she wasn't allowed, literally trafficked, yeah. And she wasn't allowed to leave that house until she was like 16 or 17. And that was just to go down the street to get groceries. And that was all she was allowed to do. And I mean, that's just like, that's in the 1993, right? And I mean, yeah, that's crazy. And fuck the police was back in 1988. So this was before that. This was before the Rodney King beating, which happened in 92. And that was the original cause of, the massive 92 riots all through LA. I mean, yeah, you've seen it Straight Outta Compton and everything, right? But I mean, how often did it have to happen until true change goes on, right? Like, yes, you made a great point, which is slavery still happens today. It's just a slightly different format. It's not called slavery. It's something completely different. It goes under a word like trafficking. That's one format of it, right? And it's just like,
and that's global, like, and that's global in a way that we don't even think, because you said that it was an Arab family, right? And then we always hear about the modern day, quote unquote modern day, which is like the olden day slavery that they're doing in Libya with African people, Black people, right? By other Black people, by Arabs, etc. Like, because back then how they did it was obviously like, if you're from a rival tribe, they weren't doing it on race. Like, there's so many constructs that you have to start to break down that
what I had read though,
and don't affect them like it affects us.
What I had found,
I think it's definitely an ideology.
What distinguished like what we did in Africa, what our slavery that we were, because people usually say, African slaves sold slaves to the Europeans that brought them to the Caribbean or what's not. But like what you would find is that Africans had a different kind of slavery where you could work once you were a slave, you could still work to earn your freedom.
Yeah, they had the slavery that white people afforded other white people.
Correct. So you can't say that Africans sold Africans. It was a whole different. Europeans made up this system where they brought us across and treated us like less than actual, animals. It's a different ballgame.
I want to segue off of that, right? So I actually studied in Spain for a year, right? And obviously Spain was the country that endorsed Christopher Columbus on his voyage to this side of the world, you know, all of the Caribbean and everything. And I was actually in one of their history classes, and in the history class, they started talking about him. And I was very excited because I was like, I know about Christopher Columbus. I know about what he did and everything.
My people.
And they introduced, yeah, exactly. And they introduced it so differently. They said, so now we're going to talk about the guy who, you know, discovered this side of the world immediately as soon as the teacher said that. And this was all in Spanish, by the way. So, you know, low key, I'm pretty good at Spanish. But she said that immediately. I put my hand up, and she was like, "Yes, what can I do for you?" And I was like, "Well, first of all, I would just like to say that my Spanish is very good, whatever, blah, blah, blah." But I was just like, I don't think that that's correct. And she was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, you know, when Christopher Columbus came over, I'm pretty sure there were people already there. Correct me if I'm wrong. Were there not?" And she was like, "Yeah, there were." And I was like, "Okay, so we've established that he didn't discover this land." And she was like, "Okay, good point." And I said, "Okay, now on to my next point. Did he or did he not kill, rape, and murder for sport all of the people that lived in the Caribbean?" She was like, "Well, he did." And I was like, "Okay, and did he or did he not then try to bring people from Spain to the Caribbean to try and work in those same conditions?" So that right there, he tried to bring, you know, European colonizers, if you will, over to the Caribbean and to work in those conditions. And do you know what every single person did? They said, "Fuck this, we're not working here. Are you crazy? These are terrible conditions. You treat us like shit. Have you lost your mind?" And they all went straight back to Spain. And what happened after that? Well, they had to find a new set of people. And that is when the West Africa slave trade was developed. I felt very proud of myself when I explained that to the teacher.
And everyone looking at you like, this nigga ruining history class.
Literally, they were like, "Yo, get out of here.
You're ruining it, fam." Like,
yeah.
I can't believe he came to their country and he came to Spain and disrespected Christopher Columbus
and colonized their class.
Yeah.
How dare you?
In a Spanish class, he uses poor Spanish. I would have to. He would get deported. I really can't understand. You know, that is brown privilege that you're there exercising.
That's a UK passport, fam. No, but I mean, like, that alone, like, that just shows, you know, the education is clearly incorrect, right? And that's like going really deep into the problem, which is
it's just bias, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's the narrative.
That's
it's the narrative.
Ideology. The ideology, because he did go there, he did find some shit to him, like, and the problem with them is that their ideology is so one-sided. Like, they don't see any of us, right? Historically, they don't see anything but their self. And even to think you went there, you brought people over there, you have this methodology of doing work. Everyone said, "F this is really bad." You don't think, damn, maybe we should change the conditions, you know? Maybe we should work with these people. Like, no, we're just gonna like double down and force people into something that obviously doesn't work, and then perpetuate it for hundreds of years. Like,
well, you know what? At least what? Sachin, tell us though. Spain has good food and good music, not true?
It has great music, great food, great, and I cannot stress this enough. Great girls.
Now you see, it's
of course.
I'll say amen to the food.
Correct. You can go there and lie and worship Christopher Columbus and just, you know, sell your soul.
There's no denying the food there and everything was amazing.
It's so cheap.
What about the wine? What about the wine?
The wine.
The wine was unbelievable, and I was in one of the areas that actually produces some of the best wine. It's called La Rioja. So if you ever have the chance, try some of that wine. Yeah, that's where I was. But actually, while I was there, I stayed with the host family. And I told them, I said, "Yeah, I'm going to visit, I'm going to go down the south of Spain, you know, to Valencia and everything." I said, "I'm going to go to Madrid and all these different places." And they're like, "Okay, but be careful, right?" And I was like, "What do you mean? Like pickpockets?" And they're like, No, just be careful because you're a person of color. And, you know, not everybody in Spain and not everywhere in Spain is fully up to date and they don't fully get it. So, you know, just be wary because they do have people who have the wrong mindset, and that mindset is, well, if you're not like me, you're either a thief or you're a terrorist or something is wrong
You're
with
a
you, right? And so,
or
yeah,
you're
exactly.
this,
Or you're uneducated. You don't know what you're doing. You have no right. You deserve to be treated poorly and everything. So it's just like, okay, thanks for the heads up.
You know what's funny? Sunday I was watching a Trevor Noah special on Netflix, and he was just making fun of the fact that if you're black and you're traveling for vacation, you need to find your own like source of what to do and where to go and whatnot. It was funny, but I was like, that's so true. Because when I'm thinking about traveling, I'm like, okay, I'm a black female. I need to figure out what to do, what I can do, where to go.
Where can I not go? Where can I not go? First and foremost.
What should I not say? What should I... Even when I just visit the US, I'm just like always so mindful, and I never have to worry about that at home. But as soon as I'm booking my ticket, I'm like, okay, so now, what can I actually do?
Let's not stay in the Bronx. Let's go a little bit.
Right? It's so crazy. And the thing, and that's why I can understand, like, not fully understand, but I get like how angry and frustrated and just like to the end of their ropes the African Americans are right now. Because when I am home, I never have to think about that. Like, I'm not gonna say there's stuff going on here, but I never have to think like, where can I go and like just be myself and be comfortable and not have to worry about
that I might potentially be in danger.
Like, exactly. When my brother leaves home, I never think about that. My significant other, I never think about that. But when we're traveling, like, these are things I have to think about, and it's crazy. In 2020.
Actually, like on top of that as well. And I was actually talking about this in our short intermission. One of my friends brought up the fact that, well, isn't it a shame that they're looting and burning down these buildings and everything? Like, that's kind of taking away from their cause. And that really
white guy.
It was a white guy. And that really, really upset me. And I was like, well,
no, I mean, who's looting? The white guys.
Sorry. Yeah. I tried to explain. I was like, well, listen, like, you can't understand like the pure rage and anger and frustration that is being felt right now. I mean, for years, hundreds of years, right? I mean, we could even go back, like, we talked about Tupac's song 98. So if we even went from then, that's 22 years. That's far too long, right? I mean, it's been going on for a long time, right? But just the disrespect and the like, you're afraid to drive your car because if you get stopped by a police, if you're a black person, you have to act differently. You have to keep your hands open and in plain sight. You can't move quickly. You can't do anything when when the police are there. And it's just like, you can't understand the pure frustration that I felt of just being fearful of the people who are supposed to protect you. And there have been so many peaceful protests. There have been so many peaceful protests over the last 10 years.
Overwhelmingly peaceful.
How many of them have we heard about in the international news? None of them. Maybe one, maybe two. But so many of them have just been silenced. And of course, now there's all this news. Because what else is there to do? They've tried the peaceful. It didn't work. What other choice do they have?
But see, Sachin, I have to hold it because I'm going to build on what Monet said. Who is looting? It's a bunch. It's not exactly the people that are protesting for George Floyd's life did not leave home with their picket signs, then drop them and run into a Louis V store.
And their Adidas, and their Adidas backpacks on the side, like
completely separate set of people that left home to loot. That's a different.
I completely agree.
You can't associate them if black people trying to fight for black people's rights. And like the narrative, though, as you said there, that is what the story is going to be. People are going to say, oh, well, these people have been oppressed for so long, and they just saw, on the news, black people have been killed every single year in grotesque ways, secretly without any video. Like,
every single day.
That, right?
Every day, yeah.
Hospital.
George Floyd has been plastered.
Education system.
Every single face, every single device has probably seen some kind of George Floyd related media. And it's going to be said, okay, a black person died, black people got angry, they protested and broke everything, and now America's rioting. And that story is way too simplified and too simplified. That's just going to get across the message that it even sounds as if it's justified. It sounds as if, okay, we're fighting because they keep on oppressing black people, but there's separate things happening here, bigger picture.
There's so much more. There's so much more to it.
The amount of stories that actually do go under the radar, like you know, that boy, I cannot remember his name now, but they found him in the gym, you know, he was stuffed with tissue paper and rolled up in a mat, okay, in his school. His school, a little boy, like probably 17, if that. And then, you know, so you have police brutality, and that's what people are tackling, right? Because it's like so blatant when we see on camera, like, this person's meant to protect, and they're not doing it. It's like, this is definitely wrong. But like Phil was saying, the things are happening that are so much more insidious, so much more subtle, so much less simplified and less explainable.
One thing to pay attention to, I would say, is Seattle and this new autonomous zone. One thing you're joking about it earlier as well. You know, right now they're saying that it's a bunch of peaceful protesters. So they've evicted the police from their station, and it's just peaceful protesters set up in Seattle with their own space, or if no one else allowed, you know, they're policing it themselves. And on the other hand, now, those aren't black people out there camping. Those are a bunch of white people from who knows where that are suddenly motivated enough to camp out on behalf of black people after all of these 400 years of slavery. Now, this year, they decided to go out and create a whole zone without police. So
wow. So you're telling me that they could actually get shit done?
And we're gonna watch.
Whenever they want.
We're gonna watch.
That's crazy.
If anything bad happens now, Black Lives Matter is gonna be to blame for what.
Nothing bad will happen. They don't do anything bad, Phil.
Yeah.
Phil.
They don't do bad things.
Okay.
When you guys was making a point about the looting, right? And Phil was talking about narrative control, right? And there's a lot already manipulation lies, right? And is in the narrative manipulation, right? Because the thing about it is, when we have a conversation about looting, the Europeans, they actually looted America. They looted from the indigenous people, right? They looted from African people in the African continent, right? So again, it's really just narrative manipulation, because certain things are being purposely left out of the conversation, so as to justify, retaliation and what's not. So
correct. We have the National Guard in the streets.
Yeah. Well, the president of the United States is a fascist, so.
I think it might be best if we leave him out of this conversation, because we do not want to get too heated here.
You know, I think it's too late. Like, we've had some episodes on here. Like, Donald has come on here and lights up the entire episode. So we're red-listed. That's my flame. I expect to be told.
There's too much that we could say about him.
It's true.
No, I don't speak about Donald Trump, honestly,
I was
because
gonna say,
he actually angers me.
Exactly. I completely agree. I avoid it because, and actually, on that note, I actually had a friend who was from America, and every time we would go out, and I know we were fairly good friends, and we would go out, have a few drinks and everything, and it would always lead back to one conversation, which is politics, and that's always a dangerous topic to speak about, right? And he would talk about his whole, economic things and everything. I'd be like, yeah, but as a person, you have to admit he's a terrible person. But we can avoid this. So let's push that under the rug there.
Yeah.
I want to end off this segment too, another thing. But before we do that, I just want to say that the funny thing about Trump, I'm not a Trump supporter, but I'm just gonna say this quick. Trump.
But if you have to prefix anything with "I'm not a Trump supporter," what are you about to say, real fuck up?
Trump came on TV. Remember, Trump came on TV and said that there's a new drug showing successful results. Very good. He said, hydrochloroxine, whatever, I can't pronounce it.
Bleach.
Correct. He said that, and then he followed it up, and he also said something about, household cleaner. All right, and Twitter ran with, Trump said to drink RawSoul, right? That was what we ran with, right? That's everything we tweeted about, right? And then, the next week, a new study came out saying that hydro blah 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 is linked with increased deaths, and the doctors are discouraged using it, right? And then everyone was like, okay, nah, we got to start with this. So we were all back on team, let's get a vaccine, you say. But now today, families, today self, that study, that was the one that came and discredited Trump and was making his gaffe for him for RawSoul online, came back out and dropped the study. So suddenly the drug, hydrochloroquine, that has been used for 15 years to treat malaria, that never had problems before, that was being used effectively to treat
big problem
coronavirus, is now back on track for being a good treatment for this, and it's been recommended. Like, it's a working drug that actually gives you results when you come
But
back.
you know why?
Right.
So Trump did not talk shit. He actually
think about how people think about that market, though.
He talked truth and shit at the same time on TV. and Twitter only took the shite and made the shite viral. Like, you know, we could have had like every single man saying hydrochlorine is beer shite, but we focused on Lysol. So like that is like, I think Trump is a towel, but I think he has good people with sense working for him, and like he repeats some stuff they say sometimes. But the media is not on our side, in my opinion. That's why you should watch podcasts with like RawSoul. Like,
right, the facts. But then you have to think about the market as well. And I don't want to get too conspiratorial and whatnot. But obviously, once the president endorses something like that, the stocks for it are going to go way up. The supply for it's going to go way down until it goes back up. So just look at what the media is saying and when the stocks and the supply is fluctuating, because they'll probably line up.
Well, if you're a multinational corporation or you're a billionaire, the economy's actually been good for you in the pandemic. But millions of Americans are losing their jobs.
If you're a supermarket owner.
Yeah. Or Lysol, exactly what you just said, Lysol, their sales went up and stuff like that. So there's always people capitalizing on, you know, crises and what's not.
And even in recessions, there are goods that, like, for example, beauty supplies always do well in recessions, I guess. Psychological effect.
What?
Sure.
That shouldn't even make sense.
No, the first place I went to when we could go outside was to the beauty supply store. Don't judge me.
Facts, though. I'm like, I need to get some braiding hair. I'm done with this. Like,
I remember, like, Mia said that.
What are y'all talking about? Y'all are beautiful as you are.
Oh, thank you.
Right.
But I need some deep conditioner.
Any points in your hair, they know that you're a liar. You're Bajan. You know your name's. You're on the RawSoul.
I'm part Bajan.
Okay. And
remember, I'm an importee.
It's too late to jump ship, buddy. Yeah,
foreigner privilege.
You're in the boat with us. You see, he wants half privilege and everything.
Yeah. You see,
I want to claim it when it works for me.
Oh, I agree. I feel that way.
Diving back into the music now, though, guys. We have Seth Pierce, the music producer and engineer from Barbados, as well as Shaayz, who is a local artist. You should have probably heard his most recent work, The Last Chances, currently on Spotify and a number of other platforms. Seth produced a number of works on it. They also have a joint project in the work now. So I wanted to give Seth a chance to tell us a bit about what he does. And then we'll hear from Shaayz as well on their next project coming up.
Hi, my name is Seth. I'm 23. I'm a music producer. Yeah.
Hi, Seth.
Seth, I mean, you always come on here and make it sound so simple, but like I know you've done a bunch of projects. You work with,
yeah.
Make up yourself.
It's true.
That is one.
We have established artists here. Check Seth Harris's page. All you can see is work. Simple. So. Also, with him, we have Shaayz. What you have to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi man. So, my name is Shaayz, also known as Shaayz. I guess you could say I'm kind of like a local artist. I really do production more and like engineering, but every now and again I may just get a little vocal, you know, and just lay some vocals. But that's it for me.
Although we're artists.
It's true. I find that the men have some, really.
We like to do everything.
Mm-hmm. You have very unique sounds, I would say. Where would you say you get your inspirations from? Who would you say are your examples?
Well, he was asking about our inspirations. I honestly draw a lot of inspirations from like different genres, different artists. On a local scale, I guess we could say I've been taking a lot of inspiration from like the dancehall artists here. With all the artists that's coming up on like the local dancehall scene.
Barbados.
Yeah, you got like Chief Din and like Alar and Quan and all those guys. So I've been getting some inspiration from that. And besides that, I have a few like favorite artists, a few favorite bands. It's like Bad Not Good is one of my favorite bands. Like I take a lot of inspiration from like in my production and stuff like that. You know, a few other producers like Flan Lotus and, you know, Ali from Top Dog Entertainment. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I really enjoyed your last project, Last Chances, specifically tunes like Chandelier. Definitely recommend everyone check it out. It's currently on, as I said, all platforms. Or if you're like me and you're lacking services right now, yeah, it's on Audio Mac as well. So you can
you can find out Audio Mac. I'm trying to get it up on YouTube as well. You know.
Need some visuals.
Yeah, but thanks, man. That was actually that project. I must say was actually, you know, like a few older songs that I made from like 2017 and stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I just decided to compile a little EP and just put it out. Just filled with different vibes, different artists. Yeah.
That's brilliant. And I hear that you and Seth are working on a new joint project.
Yeah, we are. Seth, you want to tell them about that?
Yeah, we gonna call it The Songs.
The Songs.
Because yeah, we're just gonna call it The Songs because I don't know about Shay, but Shay is who chose the name, and I liked it because with this especially I don't want to go in like in one specific direction. Yeah, I just want to try and make like, cause with my inspiration, like I just draw inspiration from like, every genre. When I try to when I'm making a song, I don't try to make it sound like something else. I just
a specific genre.
Yeah, I don't try to make it sound like a genre, specific genre.
Makes sense.
I'm gonna use elements from a couple of them. Understand?
Brilliant. So, are there any big projects you have in the works now, or anything that we can know about? And you have to keep a lot of things under wraps.
Just me and Shay's album. Yeah, we working on that. We're gonna try to get out like around September.
Oh, I hope COVID doesn't really offset things too much. I guess you could work remotely.
Yeah, we've been working remotely, but it still messed up things, and I feel like COVID really messed up a lot for everybody. But for us specifically, it's like, you know, we can work remotely, but you know, you still want to get those in-person sessions, and you know, like
One thing about COVID though, COVID like just made me like sit down and like COVID is the reason that I want to do the project. Cause like I actually had the time to like sit down and like start like a couple of them.
Correct.
So I can just do something to pass the time.
Time at home for introspection is always good, Monet. Brings out ideas.
I actually have a question for the two of you. So when you guys are, you know, producing your music and making your music and everything, whether it's one song or another, is there any, you know, specific message that you guys would try to put into a song to reach the crowds and everything like that? You know, is there anything in particular, like a specific thing that you want to express, whether it's you know, whatever it may be, but is there any certain message really that you truly try to put into your music?
Yeah, man. Well, it just depends on like the vibe, or like whatever we feel from like music, like when we're creating it. You know, so we would touch on a couple of various topics. You know, like we may talk about some conscious stuff, like try to get people to like just see things, you know, outside the box. You know, like we may still talk about stuff like to be self-confident, you know what I mean, and push like that confidence and let people know like, yo, well, you could do whatever you want, put your mind to, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, well, as you would know, well, everything that's been going on in the world right now, all the protests, all the crazy stuff, man, with the racial drama that's really going on in the world right now. That's actually something I've been thinking about, like touching on within my music more. I like leaving messages for whoever may hear the music to like, you know, things that people may take away from it. Because as a Black artist, you know, like with everything that's going on in the world, like I think it really affects us too, you know, as like just Black creators in general, just any Black creative, like I think we really should play our part in trying to spread awareness and spread like messages, you know, because this is 2020 and this stuff is happening, you know what I mean? It's like, so even like stuff like that, I've been thinking about like, trying to push those kind of more messages and stuff too.
Yeah, music with a message is the best type of music.
Correct. Like I can't wait for everything to go back to normal so we can start about having events. I remember, I think Haleek's not there now, but you know, we had a really good start going with the foundation events, and I think we're just doing something weekly where you can just come out and see everyone, whatever they're working on, just share it.
Yeah, man, I missed that, boy.
Yeah,
that was fun.
I actually wanted to go to it. Sorry about that. Yeah, I actually wanted to go to the foundation event, but I was not in Barbados.
Yeah, boy. So the next one's gonna come again soon, but definitely like we need some more outlets for people to actually perform and like come and engage with local artists and like see, especially after you all like release your next album. It'd be nice to have like a listening party, that kind of atmosphere. I like places like like, you know, real small club feelings. Like, what's that place called in First Street that has terrible alcohol?
Jamestown?
That street.
Dude.
In that street, is it
Red Door?
Red Door?
I think it's
Dude.
Being dangerous now. Y'all being real dangerous now.
I was about to say, I can't even say, I know what you were talking about there, but I work there, so
I apologize, but I mean the men,
you know,
skimping on the alcohol. Like, I don't understand why they couldn't not buy the men robbing alcohol. They went to the wrong. Lounge drinks were better, you know. And that's hard to say.
But yeah, the venues are good. Yeah. I think Levy had a listening show there.
Yeah, he had a performance that I went to. You know, proper atmosphere. The song was good. It's just all it needs is better drinks. Or even down there by Blue Pineapple, that club. I think it was called Rain for a minute.
Ooh.
Yeah, and there's very nice for that kind of vibe. System with
much. It's actually crazy. You know, like tourists come here, and it's not even about tourists at the end of the day, but they come here and they do like one or two things, right? Or like most of them, they stay in a hotel mostly. Like I know I had some friends that came here and I was kind of like trying to show them like these events that we have, and like you could just go into town and get like a really, really good set of food, but it's like accessible almost, which we can appreciate for now, right? Like let's just make it exclusive. We're not even gonna have tourists here for a while, so
sad to say.
Sad to say, but like, let's just enjoy ourselves, you know? Let's make our summer cool. Like,
sure.
Well, no reason we can't do that.
Well, specifically Shaayz and Seth, thanks a lot for coming and talking to us. You know, looking forward to seeing some more of your work.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Man. Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
My pleasure. And I wanted to jerk in this little riddle that I know thoughts of. It's probably gonna be corny, but we're gonna end with it because this is a new thing. We're gonna do riddles at the end. It's gonna be you sip it, it burns. You spill it, it wets. The longer it sits, the stronger it gets.
What?
Alcohol.
Is it alcohol?
I don't even want.
I have no idea. I didn't even hear the full riddle, to be honest.
No. Alcohol is. I want you to say rum, but I was like, you know, I didn't really make it specific enough for me to say that alcohol is wrong. But you know, that was a taut riddle. You can't lie. You know, that was hard.
I hear sip, and I was like,
top.
You sip it, it burns. You spill it, it wets. The longer it sits, the stronger it gets. Jesus Christ.
Oh.
That sounds like the last riddle I heard for the night. Like, oh yeah, really? Wake up the next morning like, damn. Like
For the time. That's a vibe. I got I gotta write down some of these for next week and, you know, come correct. But thanks a lot, everyone, for coming out. This is a nice, perfect episode. We already got cut off again, as well as ending it so swiftly. But, fantastic stuff. Excellent. Bear RawSoul Kents. We out.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, Phil. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks, everyone, for coming out. Stay safe.
Same to you.
Or in our recording, we could just,
talk some shit.
Yeah, it's true.